Yeah, we had a absolutely generous raid from Ziggy D Live. Fantastic streamer. Found him through Path of Exile, but he streams a whole bunch of different games and good times. Yeah, Twitch has problems from time to time. Like I said, I've had issues where like the stream will drop and it's like my internet connection's fine, everything is like, all right, it's Twitch, like no frames are dropping, my connection's good, like everything will say I'm good, and just that is what it is. All right, you take it easy, Aeon. But thank you for dropping in. I hope to see you again. Alright, so we should be 3 days away from the tropical storm. When you're playing single player, a day usually averages somewhere in the area of about 30 minutes. It can be a lot less, it can be a lot more depending on what's going on, but that's kind of where it averages. And that's because I have 1 hour days, and you think, well, then the day's 1 hour. But between sleeping, fast forwarding, and then doing other stuff that fast forwards, it ends up being like 20-30 minutes pretty typically. Some days we like try and just push real hard and we take a bunch of vitamins to stay up. Like the max a day can be as 1 hour. But usually that just means the next day we're sleeping even more. Yeah, like we're seeing a bunch of these stragglers all over the place. But as far as like proper hordes, we're not seeing any in this main area anymore, which is really nice. Angel of the Blood says, I work for the parent company of Twitch, and there is legit 2,000 job openings for Twitch. Twitch. Just as a question, because if I remember correctly, Twitch is made on Ruby on Rails, is it not? Like, that's the primary infrastructure? So far as the application layer. It's okay if you also don't know. Sorry, dev questions. Yep, I would love to talk to you about some stuff, but that would 100% be self-revealing, like doxing myself. Let's just say I've been significantly involved in the Ruby on Rails tech stack professionally, even though I, as a developer, don't know Ruby on Rails, if I'm being honest. But I helped with content related to Ruby on Rails that was authored. The first, yeah. Oh, well, it wasn't a fake it till you make it baby thing. It's my tech stack is .NET, and then the company that was hiring on was very well known within the Ruby on Rails community. And if you know the name of the company, please don't say it in chat. Like, don't dox me. But they were really well known, and I worked for the company that was really well known in the Rails community. It's just I did .NET content as opposed to Ruby on Rails because they already had Ruby people. Obviously, generic company 2000. I mean, like, and I've made this comment. I actually am not that worried about people like figuring out who I am because I know it's going to happen. I've already had someone who I had been at conferences with in the past, saw one of my streams before it was even on camera, heard me talking about accessibility, and was like, hey, are you... Like, like DM'd me. Like, they were good about it. They're like, they DM'd me, it's like, are you who I think you are? And I was like, yeah, please don't tell anyone. Because especially back then, my concern was a big part of what I do professionally, not even like for like salary or whatever, is I work in outreach a lot of times. So for stuff like helping promote women in tech, helping promote equity and equality when it comes to job placement, pay, so there's not wage gaps and all that crap for no reason. And for like the last couple of years, my main focus has been people with people with disabilities and neurodivergent conditions. hence the whole dyslexia font thing. But I didn't want, like, unfortunately people find any excuse to dismiss anyone trying to support those causes, be like, oh, it's just one of those people. And unfortunately there's still people in the professional sphere who are like, oh, you play the video games? Oh, clearly he's just a lazy... It's garbage. Everyone plays games these days. I mean, they used to play games, just people were quiet about it because they were worried about affecting their professional careers, because people were weird about it. Yeah, games need to be accessible too, absolutely. That's actually, like, I'm a little bummed that New World didn't do better. I mean, it's done fine, because I was blown away when I went to play New World and I went to the accessibility thing, and they're like, okay, we have color filters for Durotism, we have color filters for, like, each and every different type of color deficiency, and you're just going, holy crap. Like, most games when you go, well, what do you do for color deficiency? Oh, well, we added a texture next to thing. It's like, all right, that's not bad. Like, that's good. But then it's like actually having to go, oh, no, wait, you made a color filter for every single form of color, like, color deficiency, which is not that hard to do. But, like, you actually took the time to go through and do it for every single one. Like, that blew me away, because that was unheard of level support for color deficiency people. Because like I said, normally it's just, well, we put text next to the green button, or we put a plus symbol and a minus symbol. It's like, okay, that's fine. You know, we have two different fonts. So that blew me away. But sadly, with like neurodivergent conditions, I think the only game I've seen actually do much for neurodivergent conditions that they're really kind of out there about was Loop Hero. And that's, you could take the font and you could take it from their pixel font to be a far more dyslexia friendly font. I thought that was cool that they had a text box for dyslexic friendly fonts. Let's see. G-Parent says, we had a deaf player in EVE Online. We had a lot of interesting characters when I played EVE Online. We had to relay channels for him and stuff. That's interesting. And Angel of the Blood says, as someone who spent 9 years in speech therapy for dyslexia, I appreciate your work. Yeah, and it's one of those things like, there's a conference talk. I haven't given it since before like the pandemic started, just because conferences have been weird for like the last 2 years. But before that, there's a conference talk that I've given at a number of businesses, several different venues of conferences and all that. And it's targeted towards software developers and engineers about, you know, making their stuff more accessible, just in general. And like the first third of the talk is basically like, why should you do this? Which boils down to, one, come on, like it's the right thing to do. Like you whether or not you realize that you have customers with disabilities. That's the way it is. You just do. Because the three common myths you'll hear that people say like why we shouldn't do it is, one, we're not going to get the return on investment. That, you know, there's just not enough people with disabilities who want to buy our product. First, you're wrong. Like, that is objectively wrong. When you take into consideration just corrective lenses, people just with corrective lenses, nothing else, just corrective lenses is more than 50% of the population. Okay. People with legally recognized disabilities. So these are people who are actually qualified for disability. Account between, depending on where you're at, between like 10 to 20% of the population in the US. So it's only like a fifth of your customers. And those are people who have like legally diagnosed ones. Of which, for the record, a lot of disabilities go undiagnosed. So I don't know about you, but if I was like, hey, if I do this one thing, I might be able to increase our customer base by, you know, by 20%, you're going to have your boss like foaming at the mouth. Going, wait, I can just up our entire customer base by like 20% just like that? Uh-huh. It's called make your stuff accessible. The second thing is, legally you probably have an obligation. Well, the reason I chose corrective lenses is because of the sheer number of people it affects. Because it's one of the disability, or not disabilities, because being corrective lenses is not a disability within itself. Be visually impaired would be the disability. It's just the fact that when you're looking at corrective lenses, almost everyone, like there's just so many people need it. And just, it's a happen. Like we're talking like actual disabilities people have. Probably color deficiency would probably be one of the highest ones. Because that's what, 17 or something percent? I don't, like I'm trying to pull this off the top of my head and I don't remember. But red-green color blindness is extremely common. Yeah, so I was only getting, like, in my talk, I don't actually use the corrective lens as the example. I actually break down that, like, you know, the whole, based on statistics, like, this is the 25 or whatever, you know, 20-something percent of people are legally disabled. You know, all that. Here is the rough estimate of how many people live with a disability that's undiagnosed. And the point being, it's like, it's an absurdly large portion of the population. Lulu goes, how can a spear with a round edge knife can stab immersion wound? Yep. Yeah, software without UI scaling can't handle high DPI correctly. Annoys me. Yep. Yeah, so you go into all that. And I'm trying to remember these numbers off the top of my head. Normally I can actually pull all these numbers directly from memory because of doing the talk so often. But at this point, it's been a little while for the talk, so I'm like, was that the number? But yeah, it's like neurodivergent conditions are the ones that are like really out there. The problem is, unfortunately, a lot of people, and this is a crap attitude that no one should have when it comes to these things. Neurodivergent conditions, there's just people who are like, oh, just get over it. It's like, that's not how this works. Like, you don't just get over it. That's not helping anyone. If the person could quote unquote just get over it, they would have gotten over it. You know, maybe educate yourself a little. Alpha says, I worked in IT at university for 10 years. By law, we had to clear the students with disabilities. I had whole rows of computers in the lab, maintain text-to-speech, large UI, colors for colorblind. Yep. Yeah, so within the US, we have what's called the American Disabilities Act. There's more than one law, and most countries these days have equivalents of the law that basically say you must make quote-unquote reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities. And so if it's something like, okay, don't make your signs green and red, have a wheelchair ramp, stuff like that, so long as like it's not some ancient structure that there's just simply no place to put it kind of thing, you're expected to do what you gotta do. Now, that also says, like, if I'm working at a nuclear power plant and I want to give a person a job to replace the light bulbs on the top of the tower, it would not be a reasonable accommodation to make it wheelchair accessible. Fair enough. Like, that's... Because I hear all these crap things are like, oh, that means you have to give, you know, stuff to people to put. It's like, that's not what it says. It just says you can't be prejudiced and you must reasonably accommodate them. Those are two very different things. But then the third reason, getting back to like the three excuses you have, is it's just like, you know, okay, we don't have enough customers. It's like, you know, they'll have people say like, we don't have any customers with this, but like, yeah, if I have a pizzeria that's up top of like 2 flights of stairs with no wheelchair ramp or anything, I'm willing to bet my number of wheelchair customers probably not high, considering they can't get there without huge efforts. Yeah. And then there's also, I'm sorry, that was the first one. Then the third thing is also, one of the things that's interesting about accessibility is it makes stuff better for literally everyone alive. Literally everyone alive. If you're looking at who has accessibility issues, congratulations. If you survived birth, you have accessibility issues. They're temporary most of the time, but you deal with them. Like, for example, every single person alive at some point will be dealing with photophobia. Photophobia is an aversion to light. If you've been into a movie theater and you stepped outside in the sun and went, ah, congratulations, you've experienced photophobia. If you have someone turn a cell phone in a dark room and it's blinding, photophobia. If I go from a really dark screen to a really bright screen, photophobia. Does that mean you have a disability? No. But it is an accessibility concern. So you go and you make higher contrast screens. That way when our eyes are trying to adjust to stuff, you can still see them. And that's helped 100% of your user base. You talk about like, well, I don't need to consider people with limited motor functions, like, a person missing an arm. Well, if I am a mother who has a newborn baby who is not feeling well, that baby's going to be on my shoulder the whole day because I'm going to be trying to keep it calm and all that. Congratulations. For the purposes of that day, I don't have an arm. Yep, and as Alpha said, even healthy people break a leg and end up on crutches and all that stuff. For the record, if you want to gain electrical skill, payphones, good stuff. Dr. was saying, going from stream to Bandai Namco logo screen with white background, photophobia. Absolutely. And that's the thing. There is permanent disability. And like that's not to belittle any of those kind of things. The point is more, okay, you should do all these things because it's the right thing to do by people who need these things. You should do these things because you probably have legal obligations to do these things. And also, literally, it's making it better for every single customer you have. So, like, no, really, you should just do these things. Thank you for the follow, Corrupted Cactus. Welcome to the stream. But then, like, the back 2/3 of the talk is not even getting into, like, the why or anything, because we've covered that. The back 2/3 of the talk are literally just going, hey, here's, like, for people with limited motor function, here are the statistics around limited motor function, how common it is, what types you run into, all that kind of stuff. Here are actual tangible things you can do as a person to support those individuals. And thank you for the follow, Angel of the Blood, and Angel of the Blood, sorry. And thank you for the follow, Cyper Angel. Welcome to the stream. But like limited motor function, Chad has been slacking. Oh no, am I gonna get hit with push-ups? Oh no. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, so this is the thing we do on the channel. It helps me stay healthy and all that. People can redeem points to make me do push-ups. I do have a cap every day because, don't hurt yourself. But I will do that in just a second. I've got a few more zombies to kill. But so I'll do stuff like, okay, for people with limited motor function, if you are a mobile or a web app, whatever orientation I've set my screen to on my computer, you need to respect it. Like, do not change it. Because, for example, if I am in a wheelchair and my phone is physically mounted to my wheelchair, I can't turn my screen. You're going to make me very unhappy and make me try and close your application, which may be a struggle. Okay, so I owe those 10 push-ups, so I'm going to get that. Jeffkin said, I'm doing my part, but someone stole all my points in a prediction. Well, I mean, you predicted I was going to die. That was your mistake. The Granadation said, chat, if you don't help Rual do push-ups, then his brother will win, and we can't allow that. Yeah, I joke about it every time I do the push-ups. It's like, it's not a competition, but I'm winning. All right, so I'm going to do those push-ups. I'll be right back. Okay, and I got to record those. Because as I alluded to, oh, that's the last 10 push-ups for the night. Excuse me, I apologize. Yep, so we've done our 100 push-ups for the day. Let me update our label. Because it was a New Year's resolution thing between me, my brothers, and, you know, my wife and my sister-in-law and all that stuff. They're like, all right, we're going to go and do all these push-ups. You know, be healthier and all that. Doing push-ups like salespeople checking the back room. Yeah, so I had my computer set up in a different room, which I couldn't do the green screen on. There just wasn't enough space, and my wife's computer was right there as well. And so the only way to get the lighting I needed for the green screen would have required her to like basically sit in darkness, and that wouldn't be fair. Yep, I need to drink water. I've had a few people request a push-up cam. If I do that, I'm going to need to pick up another camera. I got to figure out. Yeah, I'm not sure if you could hear. My voice is like in a little scuff. That usually happens towards the end of the stream and all that. So I really did actually need some water. You just get into talking, and that's like, oh right, I gotta hydrate. Like that'll probably be the thing that will be ultimately when I end the stream today. Will be when my voice is just like, nah, you're done. And then we are heading back to our main base at the end of this day, because that tropical storm is going to roll in, and we're just going to have to deal with that. That is a good question, Jetpacksky. Because we normally are almost always nauseous. I mean, we did fight a bunch of zombies over here, so I do think I'm getting away from these bodies fairly regularly. That might be it. But I'm actually surprised we're not, like, I don't expect us to be nauseous, but I would expect us to be queasy by now. So I am also a little surprised that we're not there yet. Yeah, I know. What I was saying with the push-ups, I'm like, I've been doing that for a little while, but it was in the other room where I didn't even have the webcam set up. But that has kind of always been on the honor system, and I will say I've never cheated it. Because the whole point is to be healthy. And then also, if I were to ever cheat it, when my wife is awake especially, she would absolutely rat me out. And she's, like, when we were playing multiplayer even and I was doing the push-up, she even sat there one of the days and, like, as I was doing the push-up, he's like, he's done 1, 2, 3. I was like, I didn't realize I was having someone count me off, alright. Plus, there's also been times with, like, chat where, before I started going around back behind the green screen because there's just not enough space in front of it, I was trying to do them in front of the green screen. Like, you still couldn't see me, but I would bang into the desk, so chat knew I was doing the push-ups for real because I kept banging into the desk every, like, 2 or 3 of them. There's just not enough space here for it. That said, we are getting at the point where I expect to increase the number again, because we started with 50, we moved up to 100. I'm not just going to make it 150. My plan is to, like, add in other exercises instead of just push-ups. So we'll have, like, you know, keep the 100 push-ups and maybe add in, like, 50 sit-ups. I don't know. That's something we've been talking about for a while, and I actually just have to figure out how I'm doing it and do it. We switched to short blade at this point because we did get to moderate exertion, which heavily penalized your damage. The short blade uses very, very low stamina. So I like to use those, usually slightly before we get to moderate exertion. Just that way, we don't push ourselves too exert. Alright, the Greater Danish, you sleep well. Thank you for turning in. And just like, there's the queasy. Yeah. A rhetorical says, do or deem that makes you exercise Dr. Ennis, and you do the workout along with her. Probably not, because the issue you run into with Project Zomboid exercise and why I do it so rarely is the day you do the exercise is not a problem at all. It's the next day you have exercise fatigue, and it makes it so you can't safely fight for so long or run or whatever, depending on the exercise you do. It's very, very penalizing. Like, I should back off and recover our stamina, like, if we're being objective. I am just trying to get some more zombie kills in, because I do know soon we're going to have to turn the character around, head back to the main base to ride out the tropical storm. Now, like, the tropical storm in this game isn't like a real one where, you know, it can sweep you away and flood and throw stuff at you and hurt people. Hey, Wispy, how's it going? Which would you think a higher fitness would help with? Which you would think... Okay, so the way it determines exercise fatigue, rhetorical answer, is when you look at the exercises, they'll say regularity. There'll be a bar there. The higher the regularity is, the less... Like, you'll still get the fatigue, but it'll last for less time. And that's, like, the only thing that shortens it out. So even if I was at, like, 10 fitness, I've absolutely slammed out exercises. I could be wrong about this, by the way. I should preface this. My understanding of this is that the only thing that matters is regularity. So even if I, like, 10 fitness, if I'm slamming out a whole bunch of exercises, I believe you'll still have exercise fatigue for a long time. That sounds wrong. I need to verify that. That's something I remember hearing, but I haven't looked into farther. Hey, we passed 60,000 zombie kills at 1 year and 13 days. Which means in the last 2 streams alone, we've killed like 10,000 zombies. To give you an idea. Hey, Sentient Cookie, raiding with a group of 2. Let me go ahead and get you a shout out. Sentient Cookie playing Evorian. So how is your stream, Sentient? We've been having ourselves a nice little blast here with some Project Zomboid. We started and we're like, we're gonna play City Skylines. No, wait. No, we're gonna play Project Zomboid. Because I couldn't decide what I was doing. And if I'm being honest, part of the reason I actually was like, okay, Project Zomboid is I am really close to making partner. I just kind of want to get that view count over, because if I can get that view count over that threshold, then I can, like, then I don't have to be as paranoid about getting my average views up. Just started, mostly built the ship. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was mixing up. I was like, that's one of those space games where you build a ship and all that. You have to, like, scavenge for stuff and all that. And crash into space rocks. Gotcha. Making our salad. Yeah, it is 75 average viewers for partner. We've been pretty close for a while. Like, I know my Elden Ring stream hurt our numbers pretty bad because the viewership on it was pretty terrible, because it's not, like, we have a very, very chill vibe here on the channel. And, we like games that are slow and methodical. Elden Rings is not one of those. It's a great game. It's an amazing game, and I'm looking forward to playing more of it. But, it doesn't fit the vibe. Like, it is very far from the vibe of the channel. Yeah, that, and because almost everyone is playing Elden Ring right now. Like, I've had a number of people who are like, oh, thank you for not playing Elden Ring, like, that kind of thing. It's like, well, actually, I played it the other day. That said, I don't think I'll be playing it on stream again, probably. Like, I'm not gonna say it absolutely could never happen, but I probably will. Just a forfeit. Yep, Sending Cookie says lots of mining, getting your ship flyable. Yeah, and I played I think I've played Avian before. But for me the one I had played that's in that genre was Space Engineers. I played a lot of time, and absolutely the same exact thing is you could sit there and like, alright, time to make my ship. And you'd be, you know, hours and hours and hours later, and you'd be like, yay, I've got a functional ship now. Like, that's just how long it would take. Because I also like to play it on realistic. Alright, there's Drowsy, so after this group of zombies, it's time to go. Oh yeah, I played Dual Universe, with the way they're monetizing everything, it's like, I don't think that's what I want to do. Like, it's a cool idea, but like, the amount, like, there's grinding in that, but you also have to like set your properties and all that. It's like, oh, like this is way more than I'm looking to be invested in this. Like, this is one of those games that you got to play a lot for it to work out for you. And then because of its, you know, MMO-ness and all that, you leave the game and there's problems and all that. So you got to keep on it. And it's just like, no. I did play it for a little while, though. Like I set up a pretty good base. I had a whole bunch of stuff coming. And the fact that you had to, like, manually mine everything. Like, there was no automated mining to speak of. And, like, so Space Engineers, you also have to manually mine. Like, I can make a giant mining ship and, like, tunnel through stuff. Dual Universe, you had to hand mine everything. Oh yeah, the voxel, like, the building of the ships and all that in Dual Universe was neat. Now granted, I also haven't played in quite a while, so I'm sure it's come a long way. But yeah. Like, it's a shame some of the decisions they made. And I understand, because they're looking at this as like an MMO aspect where you're going to have people who they're going to specialize in hand mining and all that. Yeah, Empyrean's a game I've seen that I haven't played yet. Owisbig says, it's super tedious to make curves with voxels, though. Yeah, that was the thing, like, with Dual Universe, you could do some really weird stuff. I try to remember what it's called. It was something magic. But you could, like, put this, like, weird shape and then use it to force stuff into different shapes. The management is also utter garbage because of their prior CEO. Did they improve it, or is it still a disaster? Do you not know? It is the reason why we're returning home. So usually that 2 days that saying is before Tropical Storm is inclusive. So I would expect sometime during the day tomorrow things to get real ugly real fast. So normally when we have bad weather, my plan is to effectively just work on skills, build our base, that kind of thing. I haven't decided quite yet what we're doing. We'll probably strip down a car as one thing. Why are there so many zombies out here? We've been through this. There are a lot of zombies around here for some reason. But yeah, like, I remember the decisions, a lot of the decisions I'd say that Dual Universe was making was another reason I was like, eh. Because a lot of it felt like they weren't great. Ah, gotcha. So you knew someone who worked there who got cut back. That wouldn't surprise me, because it seemed like it was popular for a blip on the radar and that they're promising all sorts of stuff. And, yeah. There was a good couple of people I knew who were really big streamers who were into it for a while, and, like, all of them at the same time kind of bailed, so I was like, okay, something happened. Thank you for the follow. Golden Brady, welcome to the stream. Or Golden Brady? Golden Brady? I don't know. But nevertheless, thank you for the stream. If I got it wrong, just, I mean, obviously I said two different things, so I definitely got it wrong. But if you let me know what the correct pronunciation for it, I'll try and do better in the future. Okay, Golden Brady, cool. Uh, yep, so zombies aren't running. So Cyber Angel says, the NPCs look stupid, but the gameplay rocks in Empyrean. Yeah, there's been a few games. Like, I actually don't mind games that the graphics are a hot mess or whatever like that, if the gameplay is there. Like, there's definitely been some games that it's like, you look at graphics like, you know, bear with me. This game is not a looker. Yeah. I mean, one thing that... So, when a game looks like bad, that's one thing. When a game looks like just good-ish, that's like the sweet spot, where it's like, okay, they put a little bit of effort into the graphics, but like that wasn't their primary focus. Let's see. The devs were trying, but the CEO was full of himself. He had a vision and tried to micromanage everything and arbitrarily changed stuff on the whims, where the devs either had to work around it or revert to fix it. Yeah. No, and I definitely heard there's like a big controversy that one of the people, who I know his big game for the longest time was Elite Dangerous. It was a big controversy that all sorts of problems happened. That like the dev team made a choice and then they banned a bunch of people like when like they had made a decision that's like this is fine, and then people like went after the stuff the devs built, and then like the company's stance is that like that is unacceptable. It's like, but you just told it was fine. Yeah, so that was the whole thing. Like I remember that was a whole fiasco they went through. I never heard the resolution of it. Dead Silence says, do you have a checklist probably in your head that you always follow with a new run? I find myself lost with what to do next and always follow... what's next? Once I get my house, my car, and some canned food when I just start playing. Yeah, so usually, like, my initial checklist when I first start, it's like, locate water, like, get a bottle of water or whatever. You know, get myself a little bit of food, get myself a weapon, are kind of the first three things. Find myself some place for shelter would be the fourth. And so it's like first three things, like obviously I'll take them in any order I can get them, but that is my order of priority. But once I get those knocked out, where I've got a place I can sleep at night and all that, then it's like find the herbalist magazine, find the generator magazine, find a generator would be kind of the next thing. From there, you actually sit there and go, okay, well, I need to make a farm. You know, set up either traps or start fishing. Like, that's kind of things. But, like, all those later ones, I don't have, like, a priority order. Yeah, locating gas. So you can either build your base by gas or plunk a generator down by gas. So it's like, it's those I just have, like, that kind of long list of stuff. Usually by then I'll end up wanting to start training carpentry to actually make a... you know, rain barrels or a proper base. Yeah, so I don't have like any hard... Okay, we have a zombie beat in our base. This will not stand. And I am running a little because he can actually break down my walls. Oh, there's a group of you. Don't you dare. This would be from that helicopter earlier. Oh, right. We were, like, super sleepy. That's the reason it's taking so long. Let's see. Golden Brady says, how long would you say it takes to get from the point where you can survive more than 3 hours? I'm struggling. It really depends on the player and like what things are getting you killed. I mean the first hurdle is learning to fight a singular zombie and not die. Of which the big pro advice I can give you is pretend this flamingo here is a zombie. While you're fighting it, make sure you're backpedaling Like, just don't just walk up and try and wail on it. This isn't Left 4 Dead. The zombies will absolutely overwhelm you. You want to be retreating from the zombies at all time, even when you're swinging. Another thing is, once you've got an area that like you've cleared kind of thing, keep going back to those, like when you're like, if I clear all the zombies down here, and I fight a group of zombies, I want to deliberately try and draw the zombies down to the way I've cleared, because the chance of me running into another group of zombies is going to be way less that way. Not that it won't happen, it absolutely does, but the chances are way less. Another thing is consider taking the trait Keen Hearing. It'll help you live much longer. It'll sound like it makes sounds louder and all that kind of stuff, which, sure. But the big thing is you can kind of see I've got this circle behind me. That's how far my character can hear and like identify that something's right there. So it's effectively like getting AoE vision. Keen Hearing makes that vision much bigger, like 1.5 times. So keen Hearing, in my opinion, if I could only take one positive trait, it would be Keen Hearing almost every time. Oh, we are... I can't even put these away. Right? So yeah, those things will help you a lot. And then the same advice I've given quite a few times in this stream is just don't run. Like, there's no rush. Take your time. Walk around. I'm just putting all the not fresh stuff in here. And when I mean don't run, I mean, you even look at the survival guide, number 2, don't run. It'll tell you why not to run. It'll have over here where it re-emphasizes don't run. Like, you run with purpose. You only run when you gotta run. If you don't have to run, don't run. But there's one way, and this is obviously me going, hey, watch my stream. But if you do watch people stream, there's a lot of different playstyles that people have. The Project Zomboid community I found is pretty much all, like, really cool about people watching and all that stuff. Oh yeah, this game, like, survival is 100% combat. You do have to have it. You'll have people who sit there and go, oh, let me break out the guns. And you'll have some people say guns in this game are trash, unusable. That's not true. The guns in this game are actually extremely effective if you know how to use them. The caveat with that is guns are loud. Oh, and you can see where I can barely see now. That's because they're very tired. So, just be aware, like, staying out when you're tired gets more and more dangerous. At ridiculously tired, you can no longer see behind you at all. Oh, I'm not sure if you're here earlier for the, if I'll do my spiel, like, not the whole thing. I'm gonna do kind of like a short one because we can't see anything and there's no zombies around to kill anymore. But, if you're brand new to the game, hit escape, go to options, and go display. A couple things. I'm not gonna worry about all the things. The big one, more than anything, is you'll see this cursor says aim outline right here. By default, it's on ranged weapon. I highly, 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 highly recommend changing that to any weapon. Like, more than anything else, that is like the biggest setting change you can make. Because what that'll do is it'll let you know both what zombie you're going to hit and when they are in range. It'll also help in cases where there's something obscuring your view as the player, whereas your character shouldn't have their view obscured, so like you're standing behind a van or something. So like that is a huge thing. I personally believe it should be the default setting set. Cype Ranger said, I filled 2 entire fridges with veggies and got way too many veggies out of the small garden. Got any advice to save them for winter? Use a freezer, not a fridge. And if you mean freezer fridge, that's fine. But basically, just keep as many as you can in the freezer. If you are just getting more veggies than you can do, that's fine. Having extra is fine. You won't be able to preserve them. But like for example, I had potatoes that we grew like not even like a huge amount, just as a couple plants of potatoes that we grew before winter started. So we got them out about October, and I was still able to eat those potatoes well into like March. Like they were still fresh because I froze them. Potatoes last a very long time. Now don't get me wrong, most of my other veggies went bad after a while, or we ate them all and ran out of whatever veggie it was.